a really good time to start kind of explaining to you how to approach the fretboard from a relative pitch perspective of figuring out songs by ear. Now, we're going to learn about scales and we're going to talk about logic and all these sorts of things. But when I first started learning how to play songs by ear, I didn't understand anything about the major scale and, all of these different things. Basically, I lived in the power chord world and I just tried to figure out things by power chord. And I'll tell you why that initially was a benefit for me. If you're trying to figure out a song, let's just say you're trying to figure out a song by Iron Maiden or Nirvana or whoever it might be. Again, I would avoid Dream Theater or, complex Rush songs or something like that to begin with. If you've never done this before, start with something easy like a Ramones tune, right? That is really straightforward, or a Tom Petty tune or something like that has got, it isn't way too fast. There aren't 385 different chords. It's pretty straightforward. Okay. Now it's a big generalization, but you got to get used to trying to do this. If you're going to play by ear, try and find something that's more a slower tempo and doesn't seem like, to your ear anyway at this point, it has 400 different chord changes. Now, we're going to get to analysis of songs and stuff later too, but just kind of keep that in mind. So when I first started learning to play songs by ear, I didn't understand anything about theory, anything about scales. All I knew is I could hear things moving down or up, right? So let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to switch to distortion here for this example. So let's say I'm listening to a song by, again, at the time, Iron Maiden or Def Leppard or Ozzy or Judas Priest or something like that, or the Scorpions. These are all things I listened to when I was first learning how to play guitar. And I couldn't tell an open versus a bar versus a whatever. I didn't have any of that kind of capability. I could hear a sound, right? So I'd hear a sound and then I would go to my guitar and I would start trying to make a power chord and move it around until I could figure out where that sound was, right? So I'd hear the very first chord of a song. Boom, I'd put the record, I would put the record on and I would hear that sound. So instead of listening to the entire song for 5 minutes, that's not going to do me any good. I would put the needle on the record and listen to that very first sound I would hear. Okay? Now again, if it was all this kind of stuff, that's the wrong song for me. I wanted a chord. I wanted something where I could hear a sound, right? The Ramones, right? That kind of thing. I could hear chords. So I put the needle on and I'd listen to that first sound and then I'd turn it off. I'd go back and listen to it again. And what I would do is I would wreck my records by doing this. Nowadays, we don't have to do that. We can just listen to the same thing with Spotify or something like that. But I would wear these songs out by lifting up the needle and putting it back and lifting up and putting it back. But that's how I did this. So I would hear that first sound over and over and over and sort of produce it into, for lack of a better way of saying it, kind of a color. Something that I could kind of hear in my head. I could almost maybe sing that sound, not 5 sounds, not 30 seconds of a song, just that first sound that I'm hearing. And then I would go to my guitar and on my 6th string between 0 and 12, which is an octave, right? I would try and find that sound in my head. So I would go to the guitar. Maybe I'd have to play it again. Okay, there it is. I don't know the name, right? I don't know anything about what I'm doing. I don't know if it's major or minor. I'm just finding a power chord. I can figure out the major and minor element later if I need to, but I find that sound. And then I hear the second sound. What's the second sound? And I always liked early rock and metal stuff for this because they were a lot of power chords and I could hear the motion of down and up, which is what I'm talking about right now. Does the second sound go down from where I'm at, or does the second sound go up from where I'm at, right? Now, I might be able to think intervallically. When I was a kid, I didn't even know what an interval was. So all I knew was relative distance. I'd hear a sound. Okay, the next sound to me sounds like it goes down. And again, I wouldn't just jot. I would listen to that sound over and over and over until I developed, yeah, it is going down. And does it sound like it's really close by, or does it sound like it's further away down, right? Because again, intervals didn't make any sense to me. I didn't know what they were anyway. So I'm listening for distance. and I'm listening, it goes down. It sounds like in my head it's going down. And I always call it digging deep, but I could take, when I was listening to a song, I could scratch out any of the vocals. I could scratch out what the bass was doing. I could just center my attention to that guitar part and just listen to that. And I still can. Like I teach people all the time to try and learn to do that. Don't get distracted by lyrics. Don't be singing along, right? Try and go deep into the song and listen to that sound that you're trying to find. And don't try and listen to a minute and a half of the song because it's too much, right? Just find that thing. And then after a while, maybe you can listen to a little bit more at the same time. But when you first start, just trying to listen to that first sound. So I would have this, okay, and I would play one, here the song starts, and I would check it. Yep, that works. Okay, what's the second sound? Sounds like it's going down. But it doesn't sound like it's very close by. It sounds like it's a little ways away. Nope. That might be right. So then I put the needle back on. Yeah, that works. Okay, so I'd listen to the next sound over and over and over. That one sounds like it's coming back up a little bit, but it's not really far away. And that's where, like, Mother by Danzig. Now, back in the day, it wasn't about major or minor. It wasn't about, whether I'm playing it the right way to the tab or some video on YouTube, because that didn't even exist. It was what I was hearing. So I was matching what I'm hearing and what I'm knowledgeable of, right? I can't play what I don't know. I mean, if I'm primarily a power chord player, that's what I know, right? So I'm listening for distances and I'm figuring that out. And that's how I'd figure out songs. Now, if the distances were even further away, then that's where I had 6th string and 5th string power chords, right? You think of like Rock You Like a Hurricane, for instance, which would be a great one for you to do by ear if you don't watch what I'm going to do right now. But that one by the Scorpions, because I could listen to it and hear that first sound and go, okay, well, my 6th string, that sounds too low, because I can hear ba-da-da, I can hear this higher sound. So I'd go to my 5th string and do the same thing. That was it. And after a while, I got used to a lot of these bands would always play 3, 5, and 7 more than they'd play, 2, 4, and 6 or something like that. Just because, and then I learned later it was keys and all that kind of stuff that are pretty common for guitar players to play in. But I'd hear that sound, and then that next sound in Rock You Like a Hurricane was really low. Sounded way far away. So, no way. Nope. Yeah. So you see, I'd start using even my visualization of like whole steps, because a lot of the 80s metal that I listened to, 70s and 80s metal, used a lot of whole step stuff. Not, again, it's just a generalization, but that's what life is trying to figure out generalizations. Peanut butter goes pretty good with jelly. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean it's always that way, but you just got to try things and figure out what works. So those whole steps really were huge for me, even though I didn't understand what I was doing, and we are going to learn that next. But using that visualization of being able to move around really helped me, and then having a relative sense of distance, which is an interval. I just didn't have names for intervals because I didn't understand what a perfect fifth or something like that was. I had no idea. So is it possible to figure out songs by ear, not understanding all of your intervals and knowing those exactly? Yes, it is. Okay. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying we're all different and you got to figure out what works for you. So this idea that I started with was really powerful because I didn't have a lot of guitar lessons, and the guitar lessons I did have, I wasn't learning this kind of music, which is why I didn't take lessons very long. But I had the ability to sit down and listen to something and figure it out. Now, later on, I would listen. Those kind of sounds took a lot longer to develop. And I had gone through a lot of different kinds of power chordy progressions before I ever started doing something like Photograph by Def Leppard or something like that. because that was a different way of looking at the guitar that I wasn't comfortable with. It started with power chords. So my suggestion to you is try and find some bands that you like, or at least you can tolerate, that use more of this power chordy thing to try and figure it out. Now, let's look at the other side of that. Let's go to open chords. I'm going to go back to clean here. G and D and C. And maybe that's more the kind of thing you're into. You like more open chords. You like the sound of G, C, and D and all that sort of thing. Well, if you think about songs that you've played before, and you start, because I do this all the time in my beginning guitar classes, where I'll say, okay, so even though you don't know anything about music, you don't know anything about theory, right? You just started playing guitar, but you've been learning some songs. What chord progressions do you tend to see lots of? Like if you're playing a G chord, what tends to go with the G chord? And most people say, well, C, right? C tends to go with G, or D tends to go with G, which again, we're going to learn about in just a minute. But you're right. G, C, and D go together a lot. We see it all the time. You know, all these kinds of songs, you know, those three chords are like butter. They go together really great, okay? Even though we don't know why, we know that they go together. So if I'm trying to figure out a song by ear and I figure out that the main chord is G, or the main chord is C, or the main chord is D, I might, without any knowledge of logic, try a G or a C as the next chord, or a D, depending on which one was my first chord. Now, again, when it comes to those kind of chord progressions, I tend to try and listen. And again, we're going to get to this in just a little bit. Sorry, I keep saying that, but it is true. As I'm listening to a song, do I hear a collection of 3 or 4 chords or 2 chords or something that are doing something repetitively, right? So I hear it over and over and over for a minute or 40 seconds or something like that. And if I do, can I kind of compile all those together in my head and make a motion of sound, like G up to C sounds like it's raising a little bit, right? C to D sounds like it's raising again. In my head anyway, and D to G sounds like it's dropping back down. But I can hear those chords, even though I might not define a G chord or a C chord. If I'm listening to a song, I don't have perfect pitch, but I can hear a sound that would remind me of G going to C or G going to D, that sort of thing. And so my point is that you get used to thinking, use your history and go, well, if I was playing a G chord, what would I expect to hear, right? Now, again, if you don't know the song well enough and you're just trying to play different chords and the song's playing and you're just trying different things, it's really almost impossible to make an organization, because the song is happening in real time and you're just trying everything under the sun while the song's playing. What you have to do is you have to just listen to a little bit of the song and stop. And then listen to that same thing again and stop. Maybe it's 1 chord, maybe it's 2 chords, maybe it's 3 chords, right? This goes for power chords as well. You can only take as much as you can handle and then shut it off and then go to your guitar and go, well, what's the first sound I'm hearing? And once I've developed what that first sound is, okay, now I've got a starting point. I've got a starting block I can work from. What's the second sound? Is it going up? Is it going down? What's happening there? And it takes a while to develop this, but those are 2 kind of different ways of approaching learning songs by ear without a lot of knowledge, is learning to hear things moving across the guitar this way or hearing things down in here. Now, it is possible to convert them, right? I might figure out something here moving this way and then convert it into something with open chords and bar chords and whatever I might be using, or vice versa. I might figure out something down here and go, oh, that first chord is a D, but I can't figure out the second one, so I'm going to move up to D power chord. Don't worry about major or minor at this point. And that second sound is going down or it's going up. Well, how far down? And I might figure it out here and then leave it there. Or I might send it back over to open chords. Like I can use them back and forth to kind of help me figure it out. But the big trick is if you can't hear the major and minor isms of your chord or your chord progression, you can always convert it into power chords on the 6th string, even between 0 and 12, and kind of try and figure out the motion of what you're doing. And then once you've kind of figured it out, you could go, okay, let's send that back over into open chords if I choose to. and is it major or is it minor? What's going on here, right? Or maybe you make them into bar chords. I mean, there's lots of options for this. So again, this is why the best thing that you can do is, if you're really trying to learn ear training, you don't go to YouTube and figure it out or find the tabs, because you're not doing ear training anyway, right? You got to listen to something and try and really hear one of two things. Movement. Is it going down? Is it going up? Is it going down a little bit? Is it going down a lot? Is it going up a lot, right? And then try and apply that to something that you know on your guitar. Power chords are a great way of approaching this to begin with. And then if you want to, again, maybe open chords are a better way for you. For me, it was both. I mean, if I was listening to the Eagles, in my mind, I was more apt to use open chords than I was power chords. If I was listening to Dio, right, I was more apt to use power chords than open chords. You know, not that they don't both use different things. Of course they do. But it just made sense in my head. The style of music told me, oh, if it's more metal, I'm probably going to use more power chords, or it makes sense in my visualization of my guitar. If it's Tom Petty, I'm probably going to try and figure it out more in the open chord forum, because that makes more sense for the style of music it is. Does it always work? No, but it's a great place to at least start and see what I can do. So this is a great opportunity for you to take a break from what you're learning right now in this course. Study your intervals a little bit, study the sounds of the major and minor chords a little bit, and maybe just grab something by Neil Young or Tom Petty or the Eagles or an 80s kind of thing, you know, Green Day. Any kind of punk sorts of things, whether you like Green Day or not, they're great places to start because they're more simple. They're not so complex. You know, the further you go down the complexity of a band that does a lot, or their songs are really long, or there's lots of parts or whatever, I think that's wonderful. But in ear training, to start there is a really difficult thing, and you're going to find yourself getting frustrated a lot because you're like, I'm just overwhelmed, okay? This takes a while to develop all of these things. So it's always better to start with something slower and more simple in terms of how many chords there are, how many chord progressions there are. And again, not that you know all that at this point, but as you start moving, you know, dabbling with this stuff a little bit, you start figuring out, well, obviously Green Day is going to be a little more simple than Dream Theater, right? Or whatever the case may be. You know, Led Zeppelin tends to have a lot of things going on in their songs. But if you really like Led Zeppelin, then find one that doesn't seem like it's a lot, just power chords, right? Right? Good times, bad times. I mean, maybe you don't do the whole song, but you listen to the beginning and go, hey, I think I could figure that out. Or the beginning, A Whole Lot of Love. Oh, well, maybe I could figure that out, right? Or Communication Breakdown, you know, whatever it might be. But if you're listening to maybe the end of Stairway to Heaven's a good one for you to look at for the solo, the da-da, da-da, da, something like that. Where the beginning, the whole, I'm not asking you to figure all that out by ear, because that's, again, maybe you will, right? I'm not being negative, but don't start there. Start with something more simple. If you want to play songs across the entire fretboard, or play solos over different styles of music that people will love because they sound great and look effortless, and ultimately have more fun playing guitar and have the confidence to jam with fellow musicians, then you're going to want to pay very close attention to this message. Because you're about to discover a simple way to play songs and solos across the fretboard that sounds amazing and looks so effortless that people's jaws will drop because they can't believe how well you're playing, without spending hours of your time learning confusing music theory. My name is Steve Stine, and I'm a guitar player just like you. I've always known the fretboard was a big deal, but was kind of overwhelming. I've been teaching guitar since 1987, and I just turned 51. Maybe it's my age or something, but I never really got how some people can learn the fretboard by memorizing diagrams. And I've tried all kinds of stuff like I'm sure you have, and it sure has been frustrating. Like spending hours with my nose stuck in a book packed with hundreds of fretboard diagrams, or listening to someone who's practically speaking a different language trying to explain exactly what I need to know in a way that I understand it. After spending all that time and money, it never really clicked, and it felt like one critical piece of the puzzle was missing. Plus, I've never felt comfortable trusting that I understand or know how to do something without applying it in the real world. I thought there surely must be something easy that helps you to play songs and solos without having to worry about learning every chord and scale. That's when I dug through all my notes and discovered a shocking fact. You don't need to know every chord or how to play all the modes to play the most popular rock, pop, country, metal, or blues songs. You don't need to know how to thread all the scales together to play solos. I realized that you just really need to know triads. A triad is 3 notes that make up prime chords like major, minor, and diminished. When you can see those 3 types of triads on your fretboard, you'll play songs faster than ever before. And you can easily combine them to create solos. Triads are kind of like landmarks on a map. I use them to get from point A to point B on the fretboard, and I know when I play them, they'll sound great because they're part of the chord and work in any key. When I learned triads, my guitar playing improved tremendously because I always knew where to go. I never got lost and wasn't playing the same old scales over and over again. After a while, I started sharing this with some of my private students. They started getting results too. So I decided to record my exact method and show how anyone can use triads to play songs and solos across the fretboard that sound amazing and feel effortless. And that's how my new course, Fretboard Framework, was created. Here's what you're going to discover. Simple triad patterns that spread out over the entire fretboard so you'll know exactly where to put your fingers. Lots of guitar players seem like they're spending hours practicing boring drills and memorizing every single scale pattern. The good news is you don't have to do that because there are only 3 types of triads you ever have to learn to play the majority of popular songs and play awesome solos too. This 2-hour course is completely online and broken down into short, easy-to-digest videos where I show you exactly how to use triads to play songs and solos across the fretboard. The first few videos explain exactly what a triad is and demonstrate how the 3 main types of triads, major, minor, and diminished, allow you to play creative harmonies and melodies. They're also powerful for playing songs because you'll learn new voicings so you won't be stuck playing big, blocky chords and your guitar playing will sound more interesting. You can even use triad arpeggios in your solos to create melodic lines that don't sound like you're just playing a boring scale. I show you where the triads are across the fretboard so you'll know exactly where to put your fingers. In the last half of the course, I show you how to unlock the fretboard with the cage system and how to apply everything you learned to play over some jam tracks. This will allow you to really wire triads into your guitar playing and help you see the fretboard in a whole new way. You get lifetime access to my Fretboard Framework course so you can go at your own pace, watch the videos again and again until you're ready for more. The videos are short and easy to understand so you never get bogged down with a bunch of useless information that won't improve your guitar playing. Similar good courses cost hundreds of dollars or even $1,000 at Berklee College of Music online. Or you can do like I did and spend thousands of dollars in college learning what I'm going to show you. With all that said, this could easily sell for $1,000. After all, similar courses sell for $1,497. Of course, it won't cost you $1,000, not even $500. Not even $100. You get the complete Fretboard Framework course for just 3 payments of $27.60. Or you can save 70% if you want to make 1 payment of $69. But it gets better because when you order today, you also get 2 exclusive live sessions where you can ask me your most burning questions about the course. And you don't have to worry about making it because they'll be recorded and uploaded so you can watch them at any time in the members area. Another one of the most important skills you can develop as a guitar player is ear training. That's why I've included my Ear Training 2.0 course as a special second bonus. You'll learn the secrets of playing songs by ear and be able to listen to songs and instantly know what notes will sound great for your solos. If you were to buy this on the website a few months back, it would have cost you $99, but you get it free when you order today. And if you order in the next 15 minutes, you'll get my 3.5-hour Essential Guitar Skills course that originally sold for $99. You'll discover all the skills you need to be a well-rounded lead guitar player. This will allow you to play freely across the entire fretboard and get really creative when it comes time to solo. With this course, you're going to overcome problems like not knowing where to start and end your solos, worrying about what scale will sound good for leads, and alternative scales you can use to improvise better solos than you ever thought possible. You won't have to worry about feeling lost or confused because your fingers will be trained to instantly find the right notes without any hesitation. So, to recap, you get my new Fretboard Framework course and all the great bonuses I just mentioned for just 3 payments of $27.60 or 1 payment of $69. And you're protected by our 30-day guarantee. Truly put it to the test for a full 30 days and see if it's right for you. If you don't think it's a good fit, no big deal. Just contact our friendly support team and they'll issue you a full refund or exchange. No questions asked, no receipt required. However, I can only offer this price and bonuses for a short time. After that, the price increases to $199 and the bonuses will not be included. So click the button below and get started today. As soon as you place your order, you'll get a receipt in your email with instructions on how to access the course. You'll also get a spot in the 2 live sessions and immediate access to the Ear Training 2.0 and Essential Guitar Skills bonus courses. If you want a simple way to play songs and solos across the fretboard that sounds amazing and looks so effortless that people can't can't believe how well you're playing without spending hours of your time learning confusing fretboard diagrams, then you're absolutely going to love Fretboard Framework. And it's simple to get started. You log into the course and watch the first short video, and as you build your skills, you move to the next video, always at your own pace. You can watch and repeat lessons as many times as you need. Remember, this could easily sell for $1,000, but you can have it today for 3 payments of $27.60 or 1 payment of $69. And when you order, you'll also get the 2 live sessions and immediate access to my Ear Training 2.0 and Essential Guitar Scales courses. You'll learn the secrets of playing songs by ear and all the scales you need to improvise solos over any song. The bonuses alone have a $438 value, and you get our 30-day guarantee. But remember, I can only offer this price and bonuses for a short time. After that, the price increases to $199 and the bonuses won't be included. So click the button below and get